I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight.
Look, I might look like an idiot. Sometimes I might even talk like an idiot, but when it comes to fighting, I know what I'm talking about.
So here's what just went down. For months now, there's been this brewing tension between Aspinall and the UFC over how they handle fights and manage their stars, and Aspinall has quietly started making moves toward the PFL. The latest step he took might just confirm what everyone's been whispering about. Let me break this down for you.
I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight.
The night that changed everything. Before we dig into all the behind-the-scenes drama that's been building up, before we unpack every layer of this mess involving betrayal, frustration, and controversy that brought us to this breaking point, we've got to rewind to where this whole thing actually started. We're talking about October 25th, 2025, inside the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, during an event that should have solidified Tom Aspinall as one of the most dominant heavyweight champions the UFC has ever seen. UFC 301 was set up as the ultimate stylistic showdown. Tom Aspinall's explosive wrestling and crushing ground control going head-to-head with Cyril Gane's elite striking and masterful movement. This marked Aspinall's first defense of his undisputed heavyweight crown, the belt he'd spent his whole career chasing, and the pressure was through the roof for both men stepping into that cage. Everything started playing out exactly like the analysts called it. Those opening exchanges were back and forth, with Gane connecting clean punches that had Aspinall's nose bleeding, while Aspinall kept pushing forward with those trademark takedown attempts, trying to pull the French striker down into the grappling realm where he knew he dominated. The crowd was going absolutely wild. Everyone could feel they were watching something that could shift completely at any second, but then exactly 4 minutes and 35 seconds into round one, something happened that would derail Tom Aspinall's entire career trajectory. During some close quarters action, Gane's outstretched fingers caught Aspinall in both eyes, an unintentional but completely devastating illegal strike according to UFC regulation. Aspinall instantly showed he was in trouble, clutching his face and telling referee Jason Herzog he couldn't see a thing. What came next left the entire MMA world stunned. Following a medical timeout, the referee called it a no contest because Aspinall was ruled unable to continue safely. And that's how what was meant to be Tom Aspinall's defining moment became one of the most debated incidents in recent heavyweight division history.
Well, listen, I didn't continue. I'll tell you why I didn't continue. Because I'm not a dummy. Like, I'm not going to go out there and fight one of the best strikers in the world if I can't see.
With double vision.
With any eye. Look.
Now you're probably thinking, all right, accidental foul stuff happens in fighting. Why is this such a massive deal? Let me explain exactly why this became such a catastrophe. Because the aftermath from this one moment has been absolutely devastating. Right after the fight ended, Aspinall got hammered with criticism from parts of the MMA fan base. Social media went completely nuclear, with people claiming he faked the severity of the injury, that he didn't have the heart to fight through tough situations, despite similar fouls happening before. The hate was non-stop, vicious, and deeply personal. But here's the twist nobody anticipated. Here's where the real chaos started brewing. Because it wasn't just random keyboard warriors questioning Tom Aspinall's choice to stop fighting. It was Dana White, the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship himself.
What's been going on in your exciting life for the last 5 weeks?
Oh, mate, I've been having a lovely time just in and out of hospital, getting all kinds of different tests done on my eyes and speaking to specialists, speaking to surgeons, speaking to doctors. Oh, it's been a fantastic time.
Those exact words right there from Dana White. Tom didn't want to continue. Not Tom was unable to continue. Not Tom was medically prevented from continuing. Dana White pushed this narrative during the post-fight press conference, saying only Tom knows what really happened and suggesting that stopping might show Aspinall's lack of desire rather than medical necessity. White doubled down in follow-up interviews, saying, from what we understand, there's no detached retina, there's no eye damage, based on what he claimed were initial medical checks at the venue. These statements from the most influential figure in mixed martial arts just threw fuel on an already massive fire. Fans started calling Aspinall a quitter, or claiming he used the foul as his way out because Gane was building momentum in the fight. The story was getting written in real time, and it definitely wasn't going in Tom Aspinall's favor at all. But what nobody realized then, what everyone was about to find out in the coming weeks, was that Tom Aspinall's injury was way worse than anyone, including Dana White, had publicly admitted. And once the real facts surfaced, it would create a divide between the UFC's heavyweight champion and the organization that might be impossible to fix. The drama mostly died down in the weeks after as Ovai moved on to other UFC events. But then around November 30, 2025, Aspinall finally spoke up with medical proof and public statements that would prove everything he'd been saying from day one. The medical records he shared through social media and interviews showed bilateral eye trauma from the poke, including swelling around both eye sockets, a small fracture in the right inner orbital wall, and ongoing double vision that wouldn't resolve. But even that wasn't the most serious part of what doctors found. Aspinall was diagnosed with Brown syndrome, this uncommon eye movement disorder where the superior oblique tendon restricts upward eye movement, possibly triggered by swelling or injury. This isn't some minor issue that goes away on its own. This is a legitimate medical problem that might need surgery on both eyes if normal treatments don't work.
I was very disappointed. Yeah, very disappointed.
If he would have come up and said, poked in the eye, illegal, couldn't see, couldn't continue, serious injury, etc., people would have laid off. They would have taken cues from him.
It definitely didn't help the cause. Definitely didn't.
Right there is everything you need to understand about why Tom Aspinall made his decision. He wasn't backing down from a challenge. He wasn't quitting because things were getting tough. He was safeguarding his future health and career from lasting damage caused by an illegal strike. But even with all this medical proof, even with diagnoses from actual eye doctors, the harm to his reputation and his relationship with UFC bosses was already locked in.
Disappointing.
I've spoken to the UFC since, but I've not spoken to... Me and Dana don't really speak like that anyway, so...
Ever?
No. Ever.
You can feel the anger in every single syllable. 5 weeks of medical appointments, seeing specialists, and getting tests done, all while internet trolls labeled him a coward and questioned his fighting spirit. This has been Tom Aspinall's reality since UFC 3D1, and it's driven him closer and closer to his limit with the organization he once poured everything into building, the betrayal, and the final straw.
Now that you get it, now that you understand the medical facts of what he was going through while the whole internet was trashing him and calling him weak, we need to discuss what happened after UFC 3D1, which shows a pattern from UFC leadership that has pushed their heavyweight champion to his absolute breaking point. When Tom Aspinall sat down for his first major interview since the fight on the Ariel Helwani show, he didn't hold anything back. He didn't try to be diplomatic about his feelings. He put everything on display for everyone to see, and what he exposed about his relationship or total absence of one with Dana White was shocking to listen to.
Has he sent you a text or DM in the aftermath? Hope you're feeling better.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. He actually, like I said, he started giving updates that there was nothing wrong with my eye when that isn't the case.
Think about that for a second. If Dana White had just come out and backed his heavyweight champion, if he had simply recognized how serious the injury was and supported Aspinall's decision to protect his health, the whole story would have changed. The fans would have followed the boss's lead, but instead, Dana went a different route, one that left his champion exposed and abandoned in front of everyone. Have you talked to him since? No. Is that normal?
So you're not too happy then on what the president of the organisation is saying towards it?
Well, what do you think?
Tom didn't want to continue in the fight, so.
Look, we all know who is at fault here. What the are you talking about, huh?
And off the back of that, Tom, what have the UFC said?
Hunter Campbell, who I deal with personally, he's just said if they can help out in any way with doctors and stuff like that, that's what they'll do.
The UFC heavyweight champion of the world, the guy who holds the biggest title in the biggest division of the most important mixed martial arts company on earth, has never developed any real connection with the president of that company. He's never had a substantial conversation beyond basic greetings, and after taking a potentially career-ending injury in the main event of a pay-per-view, Dana White never called, never texted, never even sent a message to see how he was doing.
And obviously you've been a massive help to the UFC. You've taken a fight on 2 weeks' notice. You've taken a fight in the middle of the night, been backup fighter for Jones versus Miocic, and then obviously the whole John Jones saga. How do you sort of see this going forward for yourself with the UFC?
I think right now we just got to focus on the health, innit? We just got to get everything back to normal, follow the doctor's orders, and that's all I can control right now. So we'll cross that bridge when I'm feeling better and everything's right.
Aspinall expressed his frustration about Dana White never reaching out to him directly, pointing out that while UFC executive Hunter Campbell did offer help with medical expenses, White made public statements claiming there was no eye damage without ever actually talking to him first. This is the guy who took fights with 2 weeks preparation. This is the guy who served as the backup for Jones versus Miocic. This is the guy who waited on the bench for 15 months for his title opportunity while the UFC focused on other matchups, and this is the respect he gets from the organization he gave everything to. But the problems run much deeper than just the eye poke situation. Tom Aspinall's issues with the UFC have been piling up for years now. His championship journey included winning an interim title in 2023, then unifying it after Jon Jones retired in June. But those extended breaks between fights, usually 12 to 14 months apart, have created arguments about how active he is and whether the UFC is really committed to building him into a major star. And this is where it gets really fascinating. This is where we see the money factors that could be pushing Tom Aspinall toward the XX and away from the UFC permanently. Back in October 2025, Andy Aspinall, Tom's father and trainer, publicly recommended against signing another UFC contract, highlighting the chance for much bigger paydays in professional boxing. This wasn't some throwaway comment during a random interview. This was a strategic statement meant to send a clear signal to UFC executives about what the Aspinall team is planning going forward. But boxing, definitely, more money. Why wouldn't you? Andy Aspinall told RMC Sport Combat, he's got 3 fights left on his deal now, and I don't think he should sign a new one. If you reach the top level of that sport, the UFC doesn't pay anything close to what boxing offers. And everyone in the MMA world keeps bringing up Francis Ngannou's path as the comparison. Remember, Ngannou's final UFC fight earned him roughly $600,000, but his boxing debut against Tyson Fury brought him around $10 million. That's not just a small gap in pay. That's an entirely different stratosphere of money that the UFC just can't compete with. Tom Aspinall himself has embraced this fighter for hire approach, saying we are risking our health and safety, never say never. But the money issues aren't the only thing driving Aspinall away from the UFC. There's also his tight friendship with Ante Delija, the former PFL heavyweight champion who joined the UFC in June 2020. This friendship has led to one of the strangest situations in recent UFC history that has Dana White absolutely livid. Aspinall has openly stated that he would give up his UFC heavyweight title before he would fight Delija for it. On the Shake X TSN Gigs podcast in October 2025, Aspinall made his position crystal clear: if I had never won a title, we would have to fight, because that's my goal. But now I've accomplished it, I just give it up, and he can have his moment. I won't fight him. That's my brother. Dana White's response to this was predictably harsh and dismissive. I hate that. Don't even consider giving up the belt, because you don't want to compete against somebody that's completely crazy. Do you notice the pattern here? Do you see how every single exchange between Tom Aspinall and UFC leadership creates more conflict, more problems, more reasons for the heavyweight champion to consider other options for his future? The relationship is falling apart right in front of us.
Well, look, if you were sidelined from doing your job for like 15 months, not allowed to do anything, you train your off for 6 months for a fight, then to get double eye pokes, be left with no vision for nearly 6 weeks because of an illegal move. How do you think I feel? Not feeling fantastic, am I?
When Dana White finally responded to the growing problems at the UFC 323 press conference on December 7, 2025, he tried to soften some of his previous statements, calling the situation a miscommunication and insisting I never said anything bad about him or disrespectful in any way. He explained that his earlier comments were based on initial information and confirmed the UFC's ongoing support for Aspinall's medical care. But for Tom Aspinall, it might be too late to fix this. The trust is shattered beyond recovery. The relationship, whatever it was, has been permanently damaged by weeks of public attacks and private abandonment, and now, with only 2 or 3 fights left on his UFC deal, the heavyweight champion is seriously exploring every option for his future. The PFL link, and what's coming next.
A big shout out to everyone who has stuck there by me. A lot of haters out there who are living some very sad lives, who think they're eye doctors and have never... Listen, I'll double eye poke you full blast in the eyes and see if you can still write some grim comment on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. You let me know, you tough guys out there.
Now we get to the most explosive part of this whole saga. Now we need to discuss what's really going on backstage and why this video's title isn't just hype. It's actually what's happening with Tom Aspinall right now. Look, while Tom Aspinall is still the UFC heavyweight champion as of December 9th, 2025, with no official announcement about leaving made public yet, the signs are everywhere for anyone who's really paying attention. The question isn't whether Tom Aspinall will leave the UFC anymore. The question is when he'll do it and where he'll land. Aspinall's ties to the Professional Fighters League come mainly through his long friendship and training relationship with Ante Delija, who won the 2022 PFL Heavyweight Championship. Delija captured the PFL Heavyweight Tournament by stopping Matthias Scheffel and Renan Ferreira, plus beating Shelton Graves by decision, earning that $1 million prize as Croatia's first PFL champion ever. Their connection goes back years as training partners Aspinall BJJ in the UK, where they've helped each other become better fighters, considering everything we've covered. Think about the damaged relationship with Dana White. Think about the huge financial opportunities in boxing. Think about how Aspinall has clearly said he would refuse to fight Delija, even if it meant giving up his title. Delija has said the same thing publicly, stating he would also refuse to fight Aspinall for the belt, showing the mutual respect and brotherhood between these fighters that goes beyond professional competition. This level of loyalty, this kind of real friendship, is uncommon in professional sports, and it's obviously something that means everything to Tom Aspinall personally. Pay attention to how strategically Aspinall picked his words there. He didn't say he was locked into the UFC forever. He didn't show enthusiasm about upcoming fights with the organization. He just said they need to concentrate on his recovery and deal with that decision when he's healthier. That's not how a champion talks when he's fully committed to his promotion's future. That's how someone talks when they're keeping all their doors open. The bigger picture of this situation brings up questions about fighter independence, division politics, and the balance between personal friendships and professional duties in MMA. With Aspinall's anti-ranking and Aspinall's championship status, a fight could theoretically happen if both keep winning. But Aspinall has made it crystal clear that he will never allow that fight to happen under any conditions. So where does that leave us? What's the most realistic future for Tom Aspinall's career? Experts and insiders are predicting that Aspinall will leave the UFC when his current deal ends to chase boxing opportunities, where he could earn exponentially more than anything the UFC can realistically pay him. His father has been openly pushing for this move for months, and Aspinall hasn't done anything to stop the rumors or promise his future to the UFC. But there's another possibility that nobody's discussing openly, one that's so obvious, and that's where the PFL enters as a potential destination. The PFL has been aggressively recruiting former UFC champions and big-name fighters, trying to establish themselves as a real alternative to the UFC's control of the market. And with Aspinall's strong connection to Delija, with his anger toward UFC management reaching a boiling point, and with his goal to maximize his income during his fighting prime, a jump to the PFL isn't as unrealistic as it might first appear to casual fans. Consider this crucial element. Tom Aspinall is 32 years old, meaning he has a narrow window to take advantage of his physical peak as a fighter. Every month he wastes dealing with injuries, contract fights, and promotional nonsense is a month he's not earning what he deserves for risking his body and health in that cage. That anger, that letdown, that feeling of being abandoned by the organization he's sacrificed so much for. It's unmistakable in every statement he makes. You can hear it when he speaks. You can see it in how he carries himself in every interview. This isn't a satisfied champion enjoying his success at the peak of the sport. This is someone who feels dismissed, underappreciated, and ready to look at other opportunities. Right now, Aspinall's career outlook is unclear, but not hopeless. He has time to heal from his eye problems, and Dana White's statements suggest he still has championship protection within the organization. A second fight with Gane will probably be scheduled for early 2026, possibly headlining a UK card, considering Aspinall's huge following in his home country. But don't miss what's really happening here. Time is running out on Tom Aspinall's UFC career. With just 2 or 3 fights left on his contract, and with every sign pointing to his team having zero plans to re-sign with the promotion, we are witnessing the final phase of Tom Aspinall's UFC journey happening in real time. Whether he winds up in boxing, earning massive paydays per fight in the PFL, reconnecting with his best friend, Delija, or pursuing some other opportunity we haven't even thought of yet. One thing is absolutely certain. Tom Aspinall is finished being disrespected by the organization he devoted everything to. He's finished being undervalued while risking his health. He's finished being labeled a coward by people who have never set foot in an octagon or been hit in their lives. And he's finished letting Dana White write the story of his career and his legacy. If this breakdown opened your eyes, then check out any of the videos on your screen for more inside stories.